Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. So today this is the last lecture of unit number 2. And this lecture we will discuss two topics. The first one, that is theory, law and principle, their definition, that what is theory and law. And then the second topic, that will be data organization and data analysis. So first of all, that what is theory? In previous lecture you have studied a lot about that what are observation, what are hypothesis, deduction, experiment, etc. You know that when an observation is made, then on the basis of observation a tentative answer is given by the scientist, and that is called hypothesis. And then after hypothesis, then deduction is made, that are the logical consequences. And the use of if, the word use of if and then after that experiment is conducted, and then experiment prove that either that hypothesis is true or false. If this experiment that is proved true by the experiment, that statement, then it become theory. But if that statement again and again supported by the different experiment, then that tentative answer, they become theory. Like in previous example we have studied that mosquito are involved in the spread of malaria, plasmodium is the cause of malaria. So a lot of experiments support this statement and it become theory. So how we will define theory in easy words? The hypothesis that stand the test of time, often tested and never rejected, are called theory. And a theory is supported by a great deal of evidence. Now come toward the law or principle. It is also called scientific law or principle. If a theory survive a doubtful approach and continue to be supported by experimental evidence, it become law or called scientific principle. And it is universal, it will be constant, and it will be never rejected, and it is acceptable throughout the world, and there is no chance for its rejection. If a theory is unable to be rejected, then it become law or principle. So in other words, we can also say that a scientific law or law of science are the statements based on repeated experiment and observation that describe or predict a range of natural phenomena. In biology, there are some law. Later on in class 10 we will discuss these law in very detail, and the example of biological law, that is Hartley and Weinberg law and Mendel's law of inheritance. And Mendel's law of inheritance, inshallah, in class 10 there is one chapter on genetics, and we will discuss that law. In this diagram you can see here a relation between the scientific theory and scientific law. Actually, scientific theory that explain why phenomena occur, while scientific law describe what phenomena happen. So this is the difference between these two things, theory and law principle. So this was about a few definition related to the previous topic. And now come toward data organization and data analysis. If you remember, in chapter number 1, we have discussed linkage of biology with other field, and there was a linkage between biology and mathematics and statistics, and that is biometry. So here we are going to study that how biology is related with the mathematics and the statistic, and how the statistic and mathematics help in biology. Actually, mathematics and statistic, that analyze the data, that organize the data. So how? So we will explain this in this topic. First of all, that what is data? Data, that is a single piece of information such as names, date or values, that is made from the observation and experimentation. So that will be called data. Like in previous example, in previous lecture, their experiment, that 100 malarial patient blood was taken and it was observed under microscope, either is plasmodium is present or not. So each patient name, the date on which that blood is taken, and the values and number they are noted. So this is called data. That what is data? Now next is data organization. When a scientific research that is carried out, so it is necessary for a scientist to describe, before to start the scientific research, the scientist describe that how he will collect the data, how he will organize the data. So that organization of data, how the data are organized, that is in the form of a graph, or in the form of a table or flow chart or maps, etc. So this is a very important step in the research data organization. Next date is data analysis. Once the data is taken in the form of a graph or in the form of table or in the form of chart, then the data are analyzed by mathematical and statistical formulae, and from that formulae the scientists then conclude the result. So here we will discuss a simple formula of the mathematics and statistics, and that is a ratio and proportion. So first of all, we will discuss that is ratio, then proportion, and then how the scientists or biologists use these statistical method in a biological problem. So first of all, a ratio. Ratio can be defined that it is a relation between two numbers, like A and B. It may be two numbers, but remember that these two numbers that will be of same quantity, and it is written that is A divided by B, or A by B, or it is also written in the form of a ratio. So the ratio sign is a representation of the ratio, that is this one, these two dot, this is called ratio sign. So if there is two quantities, so between these quantities, ratio sign is put here in between these A and B, like in this form. For example, there is a example, the ratio between 50 malarial patient and 150 normal person. So this is 50 ratio 150. So the least number that is 50. So if we divide 50 by 50, so it come 1, and 150 by 50, so it come 3. So the ratio between the malarial patient and normal healthy person, that is 1:3. So this is the relation between two number of the same quantity. So that is ratio. Now come toward the proportion. That what is proportion? Proportion, if we join two equal ratio, by this sign or equality sign, then it is called proportion. So how it is represented, that if let's suppose that this is one ratio A ratio B, and this is another ratio C ratio D. So if we join these two, compare these two ratio, so then it can become proportion. So either this equality sign or this sign is put between these two ratio. This in the proportion, this A and D, these are called extreme, and this B and C, these are called mean. Now solve a question with the help of proportion. So the question is that a biologist can calculate how many birds would get malaria when he allow infected mosquito to bite 100 healthy sparrows. In one of the experiments, he noted that when he allowed mosquito to bite 20 sparrow, then 14 out of them got malaria. So by using proportion formula, so he can find that out of these 100 healthy sparrow, how much sparrow would get malaria. So let's solve this example with the help of proportion formula. So in the question 100 sparrow, the scientists find that out of 100 sparrow, how much sparrow would get malaria. So B, disease sparrow, it is unknown. The scientists want to find this B, that out of 100, how much sparrow will get malaria. In one of the experiment, he found that 20 sparrow, it is represented by C, got 14 disease sparrow when he allowed the mosquito to bite the sparrow. So out of 20, 14 disease. Now then he want to find that out of 100, how much sparrow will be disease. So A ratio B and C ratio D. So this is the formula: A ratio B, C ratio D, and this is equality. So equality sign, so this is one ratio and this is another ratio, and this is both of the ratio as compared, joined by proportion. Now putting the values in this formula, so A, that is 100 sparrow, B, we have to find B, C is 20 and D is 40. We can also write this ratio like 100 divided by B and 20 divided by 14, like in this form. Okay, so this is 100 divided by B and 20 divided by 14. Now let's cross multiply this equation, B with 20 and 100 with 14 by cross multiplication. So B into 20 and 100 into 14. So when we multiply 100 with 14, so we get 1400. So B into 20. Now let's divide both sides by 20. So 20 by 20, that is 1. So this is B, and 1400 divided by 20. So if we divide 1400 by 20, we get 70. So it means that out of 100 sparrow, 70 would get malaria, and this B, it was found through proportional formulae. So this is the use of some statistical formula in the biology research and to find some problem. So this was the end of the last lecture of chapter number 2. Thank you very much.